Hi everybody. This video is about tone production on acoustic guitar. And I've got a nylon string classical guitar here, but everything I talk about in this video is applicable to acoustic steel string or even electric guitar, because it's really just about producing a good tone with the right hand fingers. So there are two main topics I want to discuss. One is nail shape, and the other is stroke direction and basically right hand technique, plucking technique. So first up is nail shape. During the pandemic, I put together a little video for my students because I wasn't able to help them in person with their nails anymore. And I think this video was very helpful for them. So I'm going to insert that older video right here. And after that, I will address the right hand technique. So I'll start out with my index fingernail. It's a little long. One way I can tell that is if I look at it straight on like this, I only want to see a tiny bit of nail peeking out from the fingertip, and that's a little much. So I'm going to take it down. Now what do? Is I'm going to find the right angle to use the file with. So there's a couple different angles that are really key. One is what I call the ramp angle. So this would be straight on. If I filed it down like this, no ramp basically. If I file making the left side of my nail a little shorter, it's going to be kind of more of a conventional ramp. So I'm going to go for that. The other angle you have to choose is if you look at it from a profile, I'm not going to file at 90 degrees, which is what this would be, about like that. So this would be, less than 90, and then this is about 90 square on. I'm going to find, I don't know, maybe it's about 120 degree angle, okay, to file at. So I find the ramp angle, and once I find that angle, I'm just going to take it down like this. So I'm not moving my index finger, my right hand, I'm only moving the file. And as I file down, you see the surface of the file, the flat surface of the file is going to become flush with the nail, or as I file the nail down, the nail irregularities will disappear, so that's going to become flush with the file, as it is more or less here. I got a little more to go, so let's say something like that. I'll just say that's close enough for today. So in the end, what I have is a very, very subtle arc. It looks not too rounded, but it is. It's very gradually rounded. So there's a very regular but subtle arc there. By the way, we're filing the underside, and after I do that, I usually just kind of round off very gently, like that, the edge. Anyway, as I was saying, so now we have this regular arc, and what's going to happen is the string is going to prepare about here on the nail, and as we press through, the string will be depressed and then finally release about here. So this regular subtle arc gives our string a super regular and smooth ride. If you have any bumps there, irregularities, then you're going to really hear it in the nail, or in the tone. So that's essentially it. Then what I do personally is I use a slightly finer glass file, and I do the same thing. I just address that same angle. This just makes the buffing step, the last step, a little quicker. And I use this really fine sandpaper. It's I don't have the specifics here, but I believe it's 500 grit free cut open coat is what it says on the back. It's not your typical wet and dry sandpaper. And then I just file or smooth So what I do is I put the thumb on one side of the paper and I just use that as kind of a pad to push in and buff, and I try to get the underside of the under edge of the nail. I get the edge, I get the top part of the where I filed also. That's important. This on the right side, that's your release point, so that's super important to buff out. And the left side, of course, where the string gets on board. So that's nail shape. I would do that every couple of days at least. The more you do it, the more regular your tone is, and also the smoother the edges, the less likely you are to get nicks and cracks, and the less likely it is that those nicks and cracks will turn into something more serious. So that's nail shape. Also, just want to say the other huge part of tone production is where you start the stroke. So when I'm finding the string with the finger, I will probably come in contact about right here, so with the pad, but then with just a little pressure I'm in contact with the nail. And as I move through, it's really the nail that produces the sound. So that preparation point, only grabbing as much as you need of the fingertip, is really important. If you grab too much, you kind of abruptly move through and you just catch the very edge of the nail and you get that kind of thunky, tinny sound. So preparation is super important. One other thing, I did the index finger with the conventional ramp like this. My middle finger I do more or less the same. The ring finger, some people do a reverse ramp on that. That doesn't really work for me, but what I do is on that one is I do more of a straight on ramp. Actually, it's a little conventional right now, but usually I take that down. So I just changed the ramp angle, the what I call the arc depth angle, or this profile angle. That's about the same as the other one, maybe a little less, but the big difference is the ramp angle. So I'm going to do that a little bit here. I'll just do it with the regular file. Do that a little bit more straight on. Okay, getting close. All right, that's close enough for today. So there I'm more or less flush. The nail is flush with the file at that angle. So then I'll just brush the edge a little bit. Okay, so I'll use the glass file to quickly dress that the same way. And then lastly, the sandpaper to buff it out. So that's about it. Just make sure you do this regularly. It takes practice like everything else in musicianship. The thumb's a little different. The thumb, we're gonna grab the string right around here, and as we move through, it's going to release around here. So if you got too much corner right here, it's going to catch probably. So what I do is I usually take that corner down. It's in decent shape right now. I don't have to take very much off, but a little bit. So I take that corner down, kind of find that angle and take it down, and then I kind of eyeball this part of it. Nothing too scientific here, because you don't use that too much unless you're putting your finger at a different angle and strumming a chord with all thumb. So essentially, I'll take this down to about there, and then what I'll do to connect what I started out with, that little corner, and what I just filed, is I will then find an angle, kind of like I did on the fingers. One angle that bridges those two areas, and it's quite a pronounced profile angle or arc depth angle. Okay, and I will then file that flush, and that gives my string a pretty smooth ride. Like I said, for the conventional stroke, I'm grabbing about here and moving through, and it's going to release here. For something a little deeper, if I want to turn my hand and go through and try to get a really nice tone, strumming all 6 strings with the thumb, I'll grab the first string. My preparation point will move to over here. So that's why I still need some length, of course, in this part of the nail. And that thumbnail is probably a little long. I don't have to have it that long, but that'll work for me today. Okay, so let's talk about the actual plucking technique. The first thing is preparation, very, very important and possibly somewhat overlooked compared to nail shape and a few other issues. So preparation is making contact, preparing the stroke. So you really want to make contact by touching a bit of your fingertip, the skin, and with a tiny bit of pressure you should be in contact with the nail. And the nail is what really, of course, gives us that clear focused tone. The flesh of the fingertip is really for damping. So you will grab a little bit of fingertip, come in contact with the nail, and stroke. If you grab too much fingertip, you will get this flubby, unfocused sound. So it's kind of you're hearing too much fingertip go through the string, and then you're clipping a little bit of the end of the nail. So I hear that too much from students. Compare that to this. Just a nice, clean, focused pluck. So that's really big, and it takes a little while to form the habit well. So preparation, and then let's talk about the actual stroke. So the actual stroke, to me, it's like closing your fingers into a loose fist. You don't necessarily, really don't want to go back this far, but it helps to exaggerate at first just to get the direction going. So all the finger joints are kind of involved, when you make this stroke. And you're stroking back maybe toward the wrist, toward the elbow. Okay. What you want to avoid is pulling up like this. You're creating a lot of tension when you do that in the finger. You're pitting your extensor tendons and muscles against your flexor tendons and muscles when you do that, forming this little claw. And you're also plucking up, straight up at a kind of weird angle to the string. So that's going to give you a sharp, thin sound if you do that. So back toward the wrist, much better. All right, so that's basically the direction of the stroke. The other thing is pressure. Before the stroke, you really want to push down a bit on the string toward the soundboard, toward the wood. And what that does is sets the string vibrating in such a way that it does create reverberation, good reverberation in the wood. If I were to just pluck superficially, at a very shallow depth across the string, it's an okay sound, but it's kind of thin and soft by comparison. So yeah, little pressure down, and then through the string. So there's 3 parts, right? We've talked about preparation, pressure, pluck. Preparation, pressure, pluck. Okay? This is going to be applied to rest stroke, of course. We're doing free stroke. So rest stroke, you're just going to change your angle a little bit, but everything else that we've talked about today stays the same. Preparation, pressure, pluck. Okay, so you want to do this with all the fingers. I've been doing it with index, but middle, ring, of course, and then all 3. So it's the same thing when you play a chord. They just work as a unit. Preparation, pressure, pluck. Thanks for watching, everybody. I sincerely hope that you got something out of this, and if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.